Hey guys, so today I want to show you how to create this infographic. Now to do that we need to create the infographics in Illustrator and then we are going to utilize Photoshop to create the animation. Let's start by opening a new file in Adobe Illustrator. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and make a small infographic. So with that we're going to set up our infographic document with 400 by 400 pixels. And it doesn't matter the orientation, because it's a square. We want to set up 10 artboards. We can always reduce them if necessary, delete or add if needed. You're going to want to set up your color mode in RGB. This is going to be viewed on the web or the screen, so with that you are going to need to have the appropriate color palette, and since that's limited to 256 colors, make sure you have that set at RGB. Another thing you're going to want to do is set this up for screens. You're going to want to choose your screen mode, which is 72 pixels per inch, and I'm going to go ahead and leave my preview mode to default. Once you have those filled out, go ahead and set up your titling. Now please make sure you include your name. I'm just going to include Hurley here. I don't know why those capitalized there. Hurley. And then I'm going to put an underscore and put speedometer GIF. Alright, so now that I have a title in and everything is correct, go ahead and choose create. Now I'm going to start with my very first artboard here, and to do that I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to add rulers by hitting Command or Control R. Using my measurements on my ruler, I'm just going to go ahead and click and pull over to 200 here for my vertical guide, and I'm going to do the same down. If your rulers aren't quite matching up, you can click and pull from your crosshairs over and reset your guide so it's 0 and 0. Once you have your guide set up, go ahead and grab your ellipse tool. Going to the center of the two crosshairs, we're going to hold down Shift and Alt and pull out about halfway through. Now we want to stroke this, not fill this, so I'm going to swap my fill and stroke so I have a nice stroke, and then I'm going to increase my size to, no, let's do 60. Alright, now that I have my fill and now that I have my fill off and my stroke now at 60, I want to do an object expand. So I'm going to choose to expand by going to Object, making sure I do both the fill and the stroke, and now I should have a solid object here. Once this is complete, I'm going to click off and then I'm going to grab my rectangular tool and I'm going to click and drag my form here. Then I'm going to select both objects by holding down Shift, and then using my Shape Builder tool, I'm going to hold down Alt and drag across the bottom of these. Now you also want to make sure that you don't have anything in the center there. Perfect. So we just have this form here. Now to complete this, I want to add a stroke to this. And I want to add a white stroke for when I add color later. Now with this though, I don't want the stroke to interfere with the color. I want it to be on the outer edge only. So I'm going to go to my align stroke area and choose my outer edge. So that way the stroke only lines the outside. This will matter as I have the color gauge changing. I want a white stroke on that, and that way my background and my foreground color will match. Now for my interior color, I just want to have like a light gray all the time. So I'm actually going to change my color. And since we are on web only colors here, we want to make sure we're in web safe colors because there's only 256 colors in the web. And I want to just choose like a light gray background. Let's see if this is dark enough. We'll go the middle gray. Choose OK. That's plenty dark. Alright, and now we'll go ahead and work on type. Now I'm going to go ahead and choose center type, and I'm going to type in 0 per 0 here. And I'm going to do, that's kind of big. Let's do 18. And font wise, I think I'll just stick with Helvetica, but if you want and you don't have Helvetica, you can use Arial similar font or whatever you want. And then I'm going to go in the center of my form here, and I'm too going to make this gray. So I'm going to make this same color gray here. All right, then I'm going to take this type and I'm going to hold down Alt and Shift and drag it over to my right. And then this time I'm going to type 100%, and that'll be my gauge here. Now for my center here, I'm going to type whatever my gauge is showing at the time. So this time I'm going to show a 0%, and I want to increase the size of my font, so I'm going to make this one, that's a little big, but kind of fun and dramatic, huh? Let's see. I also want that centered. What would that look like if it's a big number? Let's see. 71. That works. All right. So to finalize that, I did a 36 point type, and I'm going to go ahead and set my kerning to optical. Very nice. All right, so now that I have this created, I want to work on my color one, but I need this one the way it is. So I'm going to Command C by copying. Then I'm going to click this artboard here, and I'm going to hit Command or Control F, and that's pasting in place. So that means that this is placing in the exact same location my other artboard is, but with this design. And we're going to do the exact same thing, but now by just selecting the arc itself. So I'm going to hit Command C or Control C and then Command or Control F. But the difference is rather than it being gray now, I'm going to change my inner color to red. Now you can make it any color you want, but I'll just stick with red. That's a bright red. All right, so to finalize this, this is 100%. Let's go ahead and choose the largest percentage we're going to want to do. And for this one here, I'm just going to go ahead and make a rectangle. And I'm going to turn it by choosing the rotation tool, clicking this corner here. Actually, let's make it sure we're in the center. 200, yeah, we are. Okay, good. So I'm going to use my rotation tool, click in the center here, and then I'm going to rotate and get as close and accurate as possible. So now that I have that form, I can actually select both of these and then do the exact same thing by using my shape builder tool, holding down Alt and dragging through. Now, what I like to do though is if I hit undo, when I go to select these objects, I don't have to recreate them. So if I go ahead and click and drag over these objects, copy, go to my next frame, I can select my board, paste in front by hitting Command or Control F, and these are in the exact same location. I'm not having to do everything twice. Then I can, with this object, I can take my rotation tool, again holding down Alt, select my center point here, and then make my rotation. Once you're happy with it, then you can go back, or you can simply keep on pasting your numbers by selecting your artboard and hitting Command or Control F. Now for right now, I just did the one row. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to select my number here and move on. Now I'm going to, since I did my largest point, I know that farther back I have it, so I'm going to go down to my smallest point. So I'm going to kind of think of this in quarters and go from there. So I looked at this, I'm going to grab my rotation tool, I'm going to click here in the corner, and then I'm going to go ahead and drag over. Now this is about 45, which would be like 25%, and then half of that. So I'm going to go about here. I'm going to grab my tool here, select both of my forms, holding down my shape builder tool. I'm going to click on my Alt key and then just drag across, and I have my first set done. I can change my percentage here now to 12%, and I'm ready to go. And then I go to my next one. I'm going to grab my rotation tool, click. Right here we're at 50, 45 here, so we're at about 25%. Click there, add the rest, hold down my Shift key to select both, use my shape builder tool, and then holding down Alt, drag across. Change my number to 25%. Go to my next one, hold down my rotation tool, click here, change, again this is 50, if this is 25% and we want to go somewhere in the middle of that, about 38%. Again, click and pull. Whoa, don't hold down Shift. Click and pull, hold down Shift now, then using your shape builder tool, hold down Alt and drag across. Okay, then we go here, grab my rotation tool, click, and I'm going to go to my 50% area here. Hold down Shift, grab my shape builder tool, hold down Alt, and drag across. And then go ahead and type 50. And as you can see, I'm just moving along as I go. And I'm going to click clear and adjust. So this was my 50%, and we know that we want to go a little bit more. So somewhere about halfway between this. I'm going to grab it, select both of these. Use my type. And let's do 63. Go over here. This is our last one. We need to actually copy, select, copy, and make another artboard here. Because I'm going to need one more statistic. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in front. I'm going to go back to here and do my final one here, selecting both, using my shape builder tool, holding down Alt and selecting, removing those, and then changing my percentage here to 74%. Then I'm going to go to my very last one here, and I need it to fall at 85%. So I'm going to grab my rotation tool, click here at the bar, and I need it to go a little bit bigger. Once I'm happy with both of those, I'm going to go ahead and grab my shape builder tool, hold down Alt and minus. Okay. And then I realize now I have an extra artboard, two extra artboards, so I'm going to grab my artboard tool, select on one, hold down Shift, select on the other, and then click delete. Now I'm going to add, because I didn't do it before, I'm going to add my text. So I'm going to grab my type tool here and put 85% of Americans get to work by car. And then I'm going to go ahead and reduce this. Let's see here. 18, center. All right, once you're happy with that, placement and statistics, information, all that stuff, go ahead and copy and then click on each artboard and paste in place. All right, now that I have this set up, I can go ahead and save this. Now, first thing I want to do is save this for Illustrator. So I have my file in case I want to go back and make any corrections. So go ahead and save as your Adobe Illustrator file. The next thing I want to do is save it for Photoshop. Now there's two options to save this for Photoshop. I'm going to go ahead and go to File, Save, and I'm going to export for screens. Now when you do this, you're saving this format for PNG. The PNG here is for if you do not want to have a white background. You want to have a transparent background so you can put it on other settings or it can sit on top of an existing website, things like that. So that is what the PNG format would be for. I want to save all of these. I'm going to go ahead and choose my destination here. It can be in your PNG file. And you can create a new one here. I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder. PNG2. Great. And choose. All right, so that's one way. All right, this time you're going to save it as a JPEG. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go ahead and choose Export, and I'm going to choose Export As. And this time I'm going to go down below and choose JPEG, and I'm going to choose Use Artboards, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder. And choose Export. I want to make sure this is RGB. I want to make sure that this is a quality of 10, and I want to go ahead and choose OK. Now that you have both of those done, you are ready for Photoshop. All right, so we're going to start off by creating that 400 by 400 pixel frame. So you can go ahead and type that here, 400 by 400. Again, orientation doesn't matter. Again, we do not want more than one artboard. We're going to leave that alone. You want your resolution at 72. You want your pixels set per inch. You want your color mode set at RGB. And you want that white background. Once you have those set up, go ahead and, we're going to go ahead. All right, once you have those set up, go ahead and name your file. I'm going to do Hurley again, and you can do the exact same name because of the fact that this is a Photoshop file versus an Illustrator file, so the saving at the very end will not ruin anything. So again, I'm doing Hurley and speedometer GIF. Now for me, I'm going to hit 2, hit create. Now your screen probably looks like this. If you don't have your layers panel open, you'll want to do that now by going to Window, Layers. Mine just hid, so I'm going to bring it back now. And I have my frame visible for you. Now what I want to do next, now that I have my layers panel open and my document visible, I want to bring in all those images I made by going down to File, Scripts. Now if you load the files into Stack is what you want, the first thing I'm going to do is just show you the PNG and how it preserves the transparency by going to Browse and then showing the PNG 2, and then grabbing the images. You can see here that it clearly preserved, and you see those nice transparency pixels, and it's ready for you. Now since I want the white background, I'm going to go ahead and close this, and I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Scripts, and I'm going to load the files into Stack, but this time I'm going to choose the JPEG version. I just simply wanted to show you. So I'm going to go to my, what's this one here? Today, yeah. And grab my GIFs and open. Now it's going to load them all. Now once I have these loaded, I want to actually add to my illustration. So as you can see, I want this to grow. So I want this to happen where it increases, goes through the percentage, and it builds up to show that final 85%. But I also want it to go back down. So to do that, I'm actually going to duplicate layers, except for my 8 layer and my first layer. So I'm going to go to layer 7, and I'm going to choose duplicate layer. And you can actually select all of them by right-clicking, choosing duplicate layers. Hit OK, and it'll duplicate them all. And now it's just putting them in order. So we need 7 to go behind 8, and then we need 6 to go behind 7, 5 to go behind 6, 4, 3, and 2. And again, all I did was simply right-clicked, duplicated my layers, and then move them around. So now as I go, I should, if I click this off, I should click off, go, and then go back down. Once I have that smooth transition, I'm ready to create my animation. So selecting on my very first one here, I'm going to go up to my window and choose timeline. There's 2 types of animations you can do in Photoshop. There's the create frame animation, and there's the video animation timeline. And I want to create this based off of a frame animation because I did all my frames in Illustrator. So go ahead and create that. You'll see you create a window here with 1 frame. I'm going to raise my layer panel up a little bit, and I'm going to go to my bottom right hand corner of my window, and you'll see for timeline has a panel. On the upper right hand corner of that panel has what looks like that notepad that you'll find in many of the other panels, which is your options area, and I'm going to go where it says make frame from layers. Click this, and now you'll see all of my layers. If anything is out of order, you can move them around, and I actually see one now, so I'm going through and I get back to my very last one. I want this one actually to be my very first one, so I'm going to click on it and drag it up to the front and move it in order. Now if I go ahead and hit play, you can see this is going extremely fast, and it only plays once. So the first thing I want to do is I want this to play forever, because I want this to be repetitive on the internet, right? I want it to play and play and play and play. But that is just way too fast. So I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to slow down each of my frames. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my very first frame, and then I'm going to go to my very last frame, and rather than putting 0 seconds, I'm going to go to just a 0.1 second delay, so it's a little slower. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, a little bit better, a little bit better. All right, the next thing I want to do is focus on the key, which is the 85% of Americans get to work by car. So with that, I'm going to slow this particular frame down the most by going down to 2 full seconds for this frame. So that way when I start my animation by going to play, you can see it goes to 85, gives it that power, and then goes back down. Back to 85, power, and go back down. And if I wanted to slow down my 0 one, I can stop, go to my 0%, and rather than being 0.1, I can make it 0.2 or even a half and give it that little impact of starting, going back down, delay, and start again. And you can control how much or how little you want that animation to begin or start with. All right, so now that I'm somewhat happy with this, I'm feeling pretty good. I want to go ahead and save this. I want to save this two ways. First, I want to save it for Photoshop in case we want to make any changes or adjustments later. So we're going to go to File. We're going to choose Save As and make sure this is for that Photoshop file. And I'm going to go ahead and name this my Hurley GIF. And it's in my Photoshop file. Choose OK. So that's my first way I saved it. The second thing I'm going to do is now save it for viewing, right? Save it as a GIF. So I'm going to go to File and I'm going to export. And this one I'm going to go to Save for Web Legacy. And this one's going to set us up in that GIF format. So right here we're going to go to GIF. And we see selective, 250, it's diffusion. These are all look great. One thing that you want to pay attention to is this little number right here. If it is over 264 kilobytes, you will have a problem viewing it visually. It will actually freeze frame it and just show it static. So that is something to be concerned about. Go ahead and preview it. Click this before you save it, check it out, and see what it's going to do on the browser. I'm able to see it, check it out. Once I'm happy with it, I'm going to go ahead and go back to Photoshop and then go ahead and save this. So I'm going to name it my GIF2, save. Alright guys, so we have officially made a GIFograph. So now it's time for you to try it yourself.